that. I was trying to get something was going on with my TikTok there. I'll have to fix that. It's asking me to do another stream key there. So I'll do that tomorrow. I'm not going to worry about that now. It's enough time. And make sure that I'm live here. Let me make sure. There we go. Okay. All right. So let's do this. Let's do this. Karen Reed trial update for today. Fun. Day 19 ends with the testimony of the key prosecution expert in question. Hold on a minute. That was day 19. Wow. No, today they were grilling that guy with the brain. Oh, the brain surgeon, right? Yeah, that's what was going on today. The brain surgeon was on. So they got dismissed early for a long weekend after they heard from the neurosurgeon who detailed the injuries that he saw on John O'Keefe. The start of the testimony for today was delayed by more than an hour when the judge asked to speak with each of the jurors individually after an issue was brought to the court's attention. The judge said that an issue was brought to her attention that is going to make it necessary that I talk to each of you individually over a sidebar with counsel. When the jurors came back, the judge didn't offer an explanation other than to remind them of the importance of not talking to anyone about the trial, even each other. Dr. Isaac Wolf, a neurosurgeon, testified extensively about John O'Keefe's injuries, and he described them as consistent with a fall backwards, leading to a coupe contre coupe brain injury. He explained the mechanics of such an injury, emphasizing that John O'Keefe likely did not die immediately but succumbed to a combination of brain swelling and hypothermia. He said it's impossible to know whether he immediately became unconscious, but his injuries were very substantial, and it's more probably than not that he quickly became unconscious and was unable to do functional activities. Wolf noted that O'Keefe's core body temperature of 80 degrees Fahrenheit indicated severe hypothermia, which would have led to organ failure and death. His testimony suggested that immediate medical intervention could have prolonged his life. Jurors appeared engaged, with some taking detailed notes during the doctor's explanations. Later, a crime lab analyst, Christina Hanley, resumed her testimony, focusing on the forensics analysis of glass and plastic debris. She described examining pieces of glass and plastic that were found at the scene, on O'Keefe's clothing, and on Karen Reed's SUV. She confirmed that some of the plastic debris matched the taillight of Karen's vehicle, while other glass pieces did not match the broken cup or other evidence. Defense attorney Alan Jackson cross-examined Hanley, emphasizing discrepancies in the evidence and questioning the lack of biological material on the examined items. Jackson also presented a chart that was summarizing the evidence matches, which was entered into evidence. And at the end of the day, the judge told the jurors that they were ahead of schedule, and she granted them 2 days off before resuming full-day sessions next week. Okay, so they had a lot of delays and then an early day for Karen Reed. And let's see what P. Puff Daddy. I just kept hearing from the trial about the brain surgeon there. Okay. So, the prosecution is working through its list of witnesses In the second week of testimony on Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking and racketeering trial in New York. Okay. Let me see if I can get this. These drawings make things look so weird, doesn't it? Special Agent Gerard Gannon continued his testimony on Wednesday. He described finding gun components, platform heels, and a lot of baby oil when the Department of Homeland Security raided Combs' mansion in Miami last year. A forensic psychologist also testified that domestic abuse victims often love their partners, abuse drugs, and repress memories, testimony that recalls Cassie Ventura's account of her 11-year relationship with Sean Combs. On Thursday, we can expect to see more testimony from a former assistant to Sean Combs who, Cassie said, quit after he saw his boss abuse her. Prosecutors also hope to call 5 new witnesses, including Scott Kid Cudi Mescudi, a rapper who briefly dated Cassie Ventura while she was involved with Sean Combs. Mescudi's car exploded after a jealous Combs threatened to blow it up. Let's see. Combs is 55 and he's facing these charges of sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Okay. Let's go on and hear what some more testimony that was. Okay, let's see. 2 of Sean Combs' sons made their way into the courthouse for their dad's trial. That must be very comfortable to hear all this, right? Okay. This trial has not seen many days where baby oil has not been mentioned, right? It was an essential part of the freak-offs. The defense team even alluded to it in their opening statements, noting that loving baby oil is not illegal. So it was no surprise to learn on Wednesday that federal investigators found a lot of baby oil when they raided his mansion in Miami. Prosecutors flashed a picture of the defendant's closet showing boxes full of baby oil and lubricant. 2 rubber ducks could be seen, though those are apparently not relevant to the government's case. 2 large evidence bags full of baby oil and lubricant were shown to the jury. The Special Agent Gerard Gannon said the bags contained 31 bottles of baby oil. Those were not all the bottles found on Sean Combs' estate, he said. Let's see. The prosecution went through a list of items that were recovered from Sean Combs' home on Miami Star Island. It was a slow and meticulous process. Each kind of drug that was recovered from Combs' primary bedroom, for example, is described in detail with accompanying photographs. And Gannon is a Homeland Security agent who helped lead the raid. He's been mostly handling the evidence and displaying it for the court. The government recovered 3 cell phones from Combs' Miami mansion. They were found tucked into a tall pair of boots and a Gucci bag with traces of ketamine and cocaine. The Gucci bag also contained an array of drugs, among them a small baggie of cocaine labeled DBL Wash, a clear plastic Ziploc containing MDMA tablets, and another bag containing 3 orange MDMA tablets with the Tesla logo stamped on them. Several of these items were presented to the court in the evidence bags, which the Homeland Security agent Gerard Gannon cut open with a pair of scissors and held up to the jury. Okay. The defense cross-examined Gerard Gannon about the use of an armored SWAT-type vehicle and a boat to carry out the search of Combs's property in Miami last year. Gannon said that sort of equipment was typical of such searches. Defense attorney Tini Garagos, also questioned the agent about a large gate that agents damaged when the armored vehicle pushed through it. The defense asked the special agent Gannon about the workers encountered by law enforcement during the raid on Combs's mansion. Gannon said these people were put in handcuffs until they were identified and searched. One uncooperative person, he said, was kept cuffed for a bit longer. No weapons were found on the workers and no paraphernalia. At the time of the government raids, the representatives for Combs called them an unprecedented ambush. Then the forensic psychologist Dawn Hughes was there to talk about how abuse can affect victims. Prosecutors are hoping that her testimony will contextualize some of Cassie Ventura's behavior over the course of her relationship with Sean Combs. Cassie has testified that she did not want to participate in the freak-offs, but felt compelled to for several reasons. She feared the physical abuse, the blackmail, but she also loved Combs and wanted to stay with him. Sean's lawyers have maintained for months that the government overreached in its pursuit of the music producer, and her cross-examination of Homeland Security agent, defense attorney Tini Garagos, asked about the methods and numbers of agents used in the raids in March of 2024. Her questions on the exact placement of certain items may have been intended to suggest that the jury that the search was not thorough. She also asked the agent if he had guns at home, and got him to confirm that the government did not begin investigating Combs until Cassie Ventura filed a sex trafficking lawsuit against him in late 2023. Holly Baird, Sean Combs' publicist, was spotted outside the Manhattan courthouse on Wednesday, and she was also seen Thursday when star witness Cassie Ventura was cross-examined, and I think they mean Tuesday, because Thursday wouldn't even have happened yet. The forensic psychologist testified on 4 main topics: why people stay in relationships despite domestic violence, how they cope, how they disclose and talk about abuse, and how traumatic events affect memory. And she said, no victim wants to be abused, but it's very common for people to stay in abusive relationships. Hughes is what is called a blind expert, meaning that she does not know anything about the main figures in the case. A trauma bond, she said, can form between a domestic abuser and their victims. Under cross-examination last week, Combs' lawyers pressured Ventura about warm and loving text exchanges with Sean Combs, and they highlighted several messages in which she appeared to propose freak-offs. Hughes testified Wednesday morning that there is almost always love, attraction, and companionship in abusive relationships, since she said a combination of highs and lows can create a powerful bond between an abuser and their victim, who can feel entrapped in a relationship, not just because of physical violence, but also from the psychological abuse, the surveillance, or even the financial control. Sexual abuse is especially difficult and isolating for victims of domestic violence, she continued, because these acts are more personal and they cause a lot of shame. She said, and I quote, if you can't talk about what's happening in the relationship, you can't get help. Last week in testimony, Cassie said she told her mother about Sean Combs' physical abuse, but couldn't bring herself to talk about his alleged sexual abuse for a long time. Let's see. Last week, Cassie testified about her addiction to opiates during the 11-year relationship with Sean Combs. And then forensic psychologist Dawn Hughes to the jury. It's common for people in abusive relationships to cope with it by using substances, and hence substance abuse, using narcotics to get rid of memories and alleviate fear and anxiety. She said that victims often hedge when they describe their experience, and they may only open up after they have left the relationship or after they've sought professional help. And it's not unusual that traumatic memories are forgotten or recovered piecemeal. You're not going to get all the information in one sitting, she said. The psychologist's account might also be applied to last week's testimony from Dawn Richard, who said she actively tried to forget memories of Sean Combs abusing Cassie Ventura, calling it a bad time. She elaborated, the psychologist did, on trauma memories Wednesday, saying they can be triggered by context and specific sensory cues, such as sight, smells, and sounds. She noted that trauma victims may suppress these memories. She speaks in general terms. Prosecutors may hoping to connect her testimony to Cassie Ventura's behavior after she and Sean Combs broke up in 2018. Cassie Ventura previously told the court they had maintained a friendly relationship for years afterwards, and that she had had consensual sex with Combs a month after he allegedly AR'd her post-breakup. She testified she didn't come to grips with all of Combs's physical and alleged sexual abuse until 2023, after she experienced flashbacks and thoughts of harming herself. The Dawn Hughes also testified that an abuser's authority and status can affect if and when a victim comes forward. If you're going against someone who has wealth, access, and privilege, a victim may think, who's going to protect me? Sean Combs' defense cross-examined psychologist Dawn Hughes about her forensic work. Attorney Jonathan Bach had interjected throughout the government's questioning of Hughes, objecting when he felt she was giving more information than asked for. When it was his turn, Bach tried to prompt Hughes to say that people don't fit into boxes. Hughes didn't quite agree, saying there are categories of conditions or diagnoses that a person can fit. And she also asked, Bach also asked Hughes about malingering, which he defined as the exaggerating or distorting of facts based on a person's circumstances. Hughes corrected him there, saying it was specifically about fabricating emotional or psychological symptoms. His cross was interrupted by a lunch break. And Hughes says at the beginning of her testimony that she was a blind expert, meaning that she has not treated Cassie or Sean Combs. Hughes also shared her daily rate for testimony, $6,000 per day, and under prompting from the government, confirmed that there was no additional payment based on the outcome of the trial. George Kaplan was expected to testify after the psychologist. Dawn Hughes was an expert witness for the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial in 2022. So then George Kaplan, let me get him. Former Sean Combs employee will start testifying. Let's see. George Kaplan was called to the stand, though it's unclear how much testimony we'll get from him before the day ends. He was sworn in 20 minutes before 3 p.m. when Judge Aaron Subramanian has been dismissing the jury this week. Kaplan is a former assistant to Sean Combs. He quit after seeing Combs physically abuse Cassie Ventura. The judge has granted Kaplan immunity for his testimony, and it's not clear exactly what he's going to speak about, but we know Combs's lawyers want to ask him about a conversation he had with Ventura in which he allegedly advised her on where she could find marijuana. George Kaplan said he worked 80 to 100 hours a week as Sean Combs' assistant. His days would typically begin around 9 a.m. when he made sure that Combs' chef was ready to make breakfast and ended anywhere between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Kaplan said his duties included carrying Combs' bags, making sure they contained everything he might need. He testified that these necessities could include an iPad, snacks, or drugs. He said Combs threatened to fire him about once a month, the first time when he was sent on an errand to get a gallon of water in a BPA-free bottle and finding none at Whole Foods, instead brought back 2 half-gallon bottles BPA-free. Another one of Kaplan's duties was to set up hotel rooms. He testified he would typically get a few hours' notice from Combs himself or Chief of Staff Christina Cora. He said he would set up the rooms in Los Angeles, Miami, or New York. He would stock them with candles, Astroglide, and baby oil. Combs's hotel rooms were booked under the alias Frank Black, which was a play on the late rapper's notorious B.I.G.'s nickname, Frank White. Kaplan told the jury, "My understanding was that he would have guests or a female partner in these rooms." During the hotel stays, George Kaplan would courier food, clothes, and drugs that his boss, Sean Combs, asked for. He mentioned a bag with tons of different medications, including Advil, Tylenol, Wellbutrin, and ketamine. "I'm sure there were other things," he said, but added that he didn't go through the prescription items. Kaplan said he picked up MDMA for Combs. The judge excused the jury for the day after prosecutors said they'd need another half an hour to wrap up the questioning of George Kaplan. Kaplan will continue testifying Thursday. Kid Cudi, whose legal name is Scott Mesquita, is also due to be called. As is typical, the lawyers and judge have remained in the courtroom for some end-of-day discussions. So, that's what we have there, and I'm really tired, so we're going to play the word cookies, and then I'm going to call it a night, guys. Let's see here. Hi, Murder of Crows, how are you? He is one sick freak, Little Lady said. All of those celebrities. Murder of Crows says, Little Lady, I agree, they all need to be locked up. Yeah, right. Right? Okay, let's do our word cookies, and then we're going to go to bed. I'm tired. I've had a long day standing in the rain. Daily puzzle. We haven't done anything but daily puzzles. Isn't that crazy? what you said. Do you guys have any words here? Wade and weigh. Okay, yeah, that's good. Very good. Word of prose. And edge. Very good. One more I need. Wedge, did you put there? I have wedge, right? It can be way. We got that alright. Which one is it? Murder of Crows? I don't know what the heck this is. There we go. That's it. I gotta go to bed, guys. I am exhausted. I'll see you tomorrow. Love you guys. God bless. Go watch that video with Scooter and Evie. See you tomorrow.